on above the ad. And we will be increasing the safeguards in place to ensure users are in compliance with our ad policies and laws covering election ads. On the topic of extremist content, we've developed rigorous policies and programs to make sure the use of our platforms to spread hate or incite violence more prohibited. We use a mixture of technology and human review to enforce our guidelines and continue to invest in this approach. We are committed to doing our part and recognize that we must work together across government, civil society, and the private sector to address these complex issues at their root. We look forward to continuing to work with this committee as it takes on this important issue. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to your questions.
Thank you. We'll do 5-minute rounds and obviously stay as long as necessary. So I'll start here. What nations do you worry about other than Russia interfering in our elections? Anybody comes to the top of your head there, Mr. Stretch?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the question. We worry about nation-state actors really from around the globe. Starting in 2014, we stood up a threat intelligence team that was dedicated primarily to reviewing and monitoring for attacks from threat actors tied to nation states. That work mostly was directed at traditional cybersecurity, account compromise, surveillance, dissemination of stolen information. It's really only recently that we've seen this threat evolve into what I was talking about in my testimony, this sort of dissemination of misinformation. In terms of specific countries, it really is a global threat that we think of it, and we'd certainly be happy to come back to the committee and provide more details on specific actors.
Is that true for the rest of you?
I think that's true for us as well. We, as we said in our written testimony, also see a disproportionate amount of spam or automated accounts coming out of Russia, but our tools and technology are agnostic, obviously, to countries.
Could Iran and North Korea potentially do this?
Certainly, potentially. The internet is borderless.
Okay. So let's talk about time period. You said you started picking up foreign interference 2 years ago. Is that right, Mr. Stretch?
We've been tracking threat actors for several years, yes.
Before the 2016 election cycle?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Did you find activity after the election?
Yes, we did.
Okay, what happened after the election?
Following the election, the activity we've seen really continued in the sense that if you view the activity as a whole, we saw this concerted effort to sow division and discord. In the wake of the election and now President Trump's election, we saw a lot of activity directed at fomenting discord about the validity of his election.
So this continued after his election?
It continued until we disabled the accounts.
Okay. What about you, Mr. Edgett?
Yeah, we saw similar activity. On the advertising side, what was interesting is we saw the activity drop off after the election. But these automated accounts continue, and so we're continued to focus on making sure that they're removed from our platform.
Ms. Salgado.
The same is true for Google. The limited use of our platforms certainly decreased once we terminated accounts, and we would expect that.
Did you see any activity in the primary, Mr. Stretch?
The activity that we've now attributed to the Internet Research Agency really started in 2015 and was ongoing through the primary, yes.
Were these ads pro-Clinton, anti-Clinton, or could you tell? Or these activities?
Viewed in the aggregate, the activity, again, really appears to address a wide range of hot-button topics and appears directed at fomenting discord and inflaming discourse.
In terms of volume, again, how much volume are we talking about?
approximately 90% of the volume we saw on the ad side appears to be issues-based. Primarily, a much smaller proportion were directed at particular candidates.
But in terms of the actual Facebook, I think somebody said 1 in 23,000. I don't know, maybe that was another company.
Correct. So in terms of the total volume of material on the site, it's a very small percentage. We estimate that the Internet Research Agency content was approximately 0.004% of the content in newsfeed during the time period in question.
So to sum this up, and I'll come back with the jihadist in round two, Russia, as a nation state, started interfering in the election cycle back in 2015, and they continued after the election. During the election, they were trying to create discord between Americans, most of it directed against Clinton. After the election, you saw Russian-tied groups and organizations trying to undermine President Trump's legitimacy. Is that what you saw on Facebook?
I'd say that's an accurate statement.
That's an accurate statement.
I'm not sure I can characterize on our network which way the content went.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So I take it that we can all agree that the Russians did, in fact, interfere and meddle in the 2016 elections. Your observations on that are consistent with what our intelligence community reports. Is that correct? Mr. Stretch?
That's correct, Senator.
Mr. Edgett?
That's correct.
Mr. Salgado?
That's true.
Okay. And I gather that all of your companies have moved beyond any notion that your job is only to provide a platform and whatever goes across it is not your affair.
Senator, our commitment to addressing this problem is unwavering. We take this very seriously and are committed to investing as necessary to prevent this from happening again. Absolutely.
Mr. Edgett?
Absolutely agree with Mr. Stretch. And this type of activity just creates not only a bad user experience, but distrust for the platform. So we are committed to working every single day to get better at solving this problem.
Mr. Salgado?
That's the same for Google. We take this very seriously. We've made changes, and we will continue to get better.
And ultimately, you are American companies,